Do you want it? Oh.
No.
Do you want it? Oh my God. So, do you want a hognose or do you? Welcome back to Red River Exotics. This is episode 3 of our pro and con video. This is Hera. She's a juvenile hognose. She is a conda, which means it's just a reduction of the pattern. And she is het for lavender, so she will be able to produce lavender babies in the future. So today we are going to go in the pros and cons, whether or not this is the right animal for you. This is a very much popular snake at this time due to, thanks to Ed and Emily at Snake Discovery. This is their favorite snake, and it has now become a fan favorite for a lot of people. So today we are going to go over 5 categories, just like in the last couple of videos. The first category being personality, handability, and lifespan. The next one is the setup. We'll discuss their cost, their care, and then their availability. So let's get into it. So personality, handability, and lifespan. So as you see, she's pretty well handleable. She's only probably about a year and a half now. In her enclosure, she is very hissy, which is what these guys are known for. If you want a snake that has personality, these are definitely it. They're very unique in the reptiles world. I don't think there's any other snake like this. By the way, this is the Western hognose. There are several different types. So there's the Eastern, the Madagascar, there's the tricolor. The Western is the one that is the most popular and most available. They are known for be hognose due to that cute little upturned snout that they have, which they use to burrow in the dirt. Like I said, they have a lot of personality. This will vary from snake to snake, excuse me. They act like a cobra. They're not a big species, but they act like cobras, and they will puff out their head, they will hiss, but it's all talk. They will bluff strike. Basically, they just boop you with their nose. The only time that I have been bit by these guys is actually by her when she was younger, and that was a food response. And honestly, it doesn't hurt. It stings, but it's not something that is going to do a lot of damage. Just let you know, because they're a small snake. So just a disclaimer. Where are you going here? These guys are rare fanged venomous. They're not like your typical venomous snakes, like a timber rattlesnake. They don't have, their venom fangs are not in the front. They don't use it in the same manner. They actually will have to gnaw on your skin and for a little bit to actually cause any damage. And the damage really is just localized swelling. Their bite is really just, it's a pinprick. It's really not bad. And it's very easy to get them off. You just kind of take a card and just boop their nose off. But for the most part, they're not, as you see, I'm handling her. She's my most finicky one. And she's absolutely doing actually surprisingly very well right now. So these guys, they are very variable in their handling and personality. Like I said, I do have her that she will hiss just about every time when it comes to her closure. I have a couple others that are even worse. Then I have some that will not hiss at me at all and are very easygoing. So it just varies between the snake to snake and amount of handability you do. Sometimes you're not going to get that hissiness out of them. They are known as the drama queens of the snake worlds for a reason. But if you want something with personality, unlike a ball python that pretty much just lays around, this is the snake for you. As far as lifespan, 9 to 19 years. These guys are pretty long lives. A lot of snakes do. So that's another thing. Just like those lizards, you got to keep in mind that if your child wants this and they go away out of college or move out of the house, either they're going to take the snake with them or you're going to be taking care of the snake yourself. So just keep in mind, this is not a couple year pet. This is many years. This is going to be a long time. The next category is setup. So for a setup, these guys, they are not very big. She is just about the size of actually an adult male Females do get longer. Males will grow 15 to 25 inches, the average being around 1.5 feet, so not very big at all. The females, 2 to 3 feet, so they are a little bit bigger. They do need the bigger enclosures. As babies up to like juvenile age, I would say around a 20-gallon front opening. Adults can stay in a 20-gallon, but 40 obviously is better. And that's really all you need for them. They don't need height at all. They burrow. I use aspen in their tank, and you can actually see where they kind of sliver through the aspen. It's really fun actually watching where they go. So if you don't have a lot of space, these guys are great, because unlike the bigger snakes that are going to need like 120 gallons, depending on the species, they may need more floor space. If they are climbers, they're going to need more height. These guys, really only a couple square feet. For the bigger females, then you'll need the 40-gallon. The best way to judge how big your tank should be, 2 sides at minimal should be the length of the snake. So if you measure a snake is 2 feet, you need something that's 1 foot by 1 foot, and that's a minimal. So just keep that in mind. As far as heat, this is again very simple, very much like a setup as the leopard gecko. Under the tank heater is perfectly fine. You can do over the head with the heat lamp. Over the tank heater though, you got to be mindful of anything around it. So under the tank heater with don't forget, with the thermostat is really how a lot of us keepers keep our hognose snakes. It's very simple. We can manage the heat better. Another thing is they are not a very humid species, 30 to 50% humidity. So all you really need, you don't need the misting. Actually, it's not recommended due to the aspen. It can grow mold, but you can have a humid hide. It's kind of a must. That way they can go in there and help with shedding. And then their water bowl is sufficient as well for humidity. So unless you're excuse me, in a very, very dry climate, you don't really have to worry about the proper humidity for these guys, especially as long as you have that humid hide available for them. So with the humid hide, I would have a lot of enrichment. They like to hide and burrow, so that thick couple inches, 2-3 inches of aspen, a couple highs for them, leaf litter. You can have logs for them to go under, stuff like that. They like the security, and then in the water bowl. That's really it for their enclosure. You can keep it very simple. Cost, this is the next section. It's pretty similar to your leopard gecko setup for cost wise. Tanks will be about the same cost for them. Then you have your heat mat, or your heat element, I should say, whatever you're using to heat, and decor. So depending on how big and elaborate you go, 250 to 500 plus, depending, like I said, how much decor and stuff you put in it, or how big of a tank. The bigger the tank, obviously, the bigger the cost. And again, keep an eye out for those good deals, because trust me, they're out there. So 250 is about the average low-end cost for the setup for these guys. But like I said, you probably can get a lot less than that. The cost of the actual snake itself, this is kind of like the leopard gecko, is a huge range. Now this has gone down in cost. This is because about 3-4 years ago, if not a little longer, they were super in demand, not enough supply. Thanks to Ed and Emily again, they've really ramped up this species of reptile. But now there's a lot of breeders out there that have been able to reduce the cost due to the more supply and demand kind of thing. So you can get your normal hognose snake for around $100. The highest one on Morph Market at this point was $12,000. So there's a huge range. In that, those higher cost ones, those are your newest morphs that nobody has yet. That is the next and upcoming thing. So, but your average hognose, I would say around $250, $500, depending on what you want in your hognose, and that really depends on your likes. The normal type hognose is absolutely beautiful in itself. So it's really about preference and your price range. There's always something out there for anybody that wants one. As far as food for cost, it's a lot cheaper than your bearded dragon. You're not feeding them every day insects. As babies, my hatchlings, I feed them every 3 to 4 days. And then as adults, 1 to 1.5 weeks. They don't go as long as like your bigger species, like boas and retics that can go like a month without eating. These guys are about weekly, but they're little mice, 40 cents, 70 cents per mouse. So it's really the cost for food is very inexpensive versus my bearded dragons, who cost me a lot. That is a big pro unless you are squeamish about feeding mice. So that is a con. So if you're not into feeding frozen thawed mice, no snake, just about, unless you get it in egg eating snake, and then you get the risk of not finding the eggs that they need. But majority of the snakes that you would own will be mice, rats, or up to rabbits if you get the bigger species of snakes. So if you're a little squeamish on that, snakes aren't any snake species are not right for you. The last costs would be bedding. You need to change your bedding out about every 1 to 3 months. This really depends on the snake and how clean they are. If they make a mess everywhere, then obviously you're going to be cleaning it more often. You do want to spot clean when they poop. They don't poop a whole lot, probably once a week or so. That's about it. So, you're looking at $5 to $20 a month. So depending on the size of the tank, obviously, the more bigger the tank, the more aspirin you're going to use. I have dragons hunting next to me. So overall, you're looking at probably at most $25 a month to keep these guys after the initial cost. So that is a huge pro. You got my dragons, which were probably about $50, $60 a month to keep versus $20, $30. Not a bad price at all. The fourth category is care. Care, so much easier than your lizards, especially your bearded dragons. These guys don't need to be looked or cared for every day, which you really should anyways, looking in your snake. But they, like I said, my hatchlings 3 to 5 days for feeding, or 3 to 4 days, I should say. And then your adults are going to be around a week, week and a half for these guys. So feeding, very simple. If you are somebody that wants to go on vacations a lot with your family, definitely go away from the bearded dragon unless you have somebody to care for it, and go with the hognose snake or a snake species. What are you guys doing? You should be checking their water just about daily to make sure they have nice, fresh, clean water. They will soak in their water and they will poop in their water, and it gets really nasty. Plus, they like to kick their aspen into the water. So you just want to make sure they have fresh, clean water every day. One con that these guys do have with their care, besides the being bitey at times, is that they can be picky eaters. They are actually very known to be picky eaters. They have been known to go months without wanting to eat, then they'll go ravenous and eat a lot. So, but this really depends on each snake. They are in the wilds, they eat frogs. So some people have to scent their mice. This is one thing you wanted to really discuss with the breeder. So availability is our last category, and this is not, they're around. They definitely are around. They're a lot more available than they were a few years ago, but you're not going to really see them in your pet stores. So you're going to find them at your expos. You're going to find a lot more at your expos. There's a lot more breeders out there, but you also can find a ton online. Morph Market, I should have looked up how many there are. There's probably a couple thousand hogs on Morph Market right now. Probably. And with that, there are now several different morphs, and some of these breeders have been doing this for a long time. I found some really cool combinations of putting these morphs together, and there are some absolutely beautiful snakes. There's something for everybody, just kind of like the bearded dragons and the leopard geckos. There's something for everybody. So that is a pro in my eye, that depending on what you want and look for a snake, you're going to find it with a hognose. So one con for, not so much for everybody, but there are certain states that actually cannot own hognose without a permit. So that concludes my pros and cons video for hognose snakes. There's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons that you got to keep in mind. They are not a beginner animal, but if this is a second or third snake for you, absolutely. If you have not a lot of space, absolutely. These guys don't take a lot of space. There's a lot of different varieties out there for you, and they have the personality. They are not just going to lay there and be boring. So Hognose is definitely my favorite snake. That will do it for us today. Hopefully my information kind of help you decide whether or not Hognose is right for you or not. Next time we'll be going over, I'm not sure if we're going to go over another snake or another lizard. Depends on what's brumating right now. Unfortunately, it's the end of the year and a lot of my animals are brumating. So we will see. So you'll have to tune into next time to find out what animal I'm going to go over next. Thanks from Red River Exotics.